Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Paige Hartsell. She is here to talk about digital inclusion. Welcome to the show, Paige.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here and talk about digital equity.
Well, what is digital equity?
Digital equity enables people to have a choice to internet connectivity.
Right.
So this is National Digital Inclusion Week, which was introduced to the country by the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, which is a group of people working for digital equity. So they have three aims: research, education to consumers, and then also working with policymakers and legislators based on the research they're finding and based on what consumers need to be connected to the internet.
And what is your role?
So I am the Affordable Connectivity Program Outreach Coordinator for the state of Vermont. So I work for Northeast Kingdom Community Action. NEKCA received a $500,000 grant that we have distributed throughout the state's other community action agencies. So NEKCA is working with BROC, CVOEO, SEVCA, and Capstone to go out into the community and get people enrolled in the Affordable Connectivity Program.
And once they're enrolled, what happens?
So the Affordable Connectivity Program is for people who are either enrolled in a government program that makes them eligible. So either SNAP, WIC, Medicaid, veterans benefits, survivor benefits, Social Security, Section 8 housing, or other HUD housing vouchers, any number of government programs. Or people can enroll based on their income. So if people are at 200% of the federal poverty level or below, they are eligible. So for instance, a single person household making $29,000 or below is eligible for the program.
Right.
So the Affordable Connectivity Program enables someone to have $30 off of their internet bill. The program also gives people $100 towards the purchase of a device, which will enable them to hook up to the internet in their homes through a hotspot. This part of the program is a little more challenging for Vermonters because it requires that the internet service providers actually have a storefront where they are selling devices.
Right.
And as we all know, in Vermont, there are very few internet service providers with storefronts.
Right.
So this part of the program is a little more challenging and not really relevant for so many people because Vermont is such a rural state.
Right.
But the $30 off of the internet bill really does a lot to close the digital divide for Vermonters who are struggling to afford the internet.
Now, you know what? I remember when internet really first started coming out. I'm not a technological person, but because of my work, I rely on technology. But I remember when internet first started coming out, I remember people saying, well, pockets of Vermont might have the internet, but the Northeast Kingdom and other rural reaches of the country never will. Well, fast forward. In the early days, the internet was just a pastime, but now it encompasses our life. Are there people that really could benefit from the internet but can't afford it?
Absolutely. So across the country, the number of people, particularly in rural areas, numbers about 10 million that do not have access to the internet. And in Vermont, which is made up of so many rural areas, this is a real impediment to people being able to work from home, to stay connected to family and friends, to access telehealth. We also have an aging population where transportation and getting to medical appointments is challenging. So the ability to dial in or call in for a medical appointment is a critical need for people today. So that, as well as just being able to have the choice. So equity is about having choice, and people across Vermont who are struggling to afford internet have a right to be able to have connectivity and access to internet service.
You know, in my other life, I do the Northland Journal, I write history, and a lot of people might not realize it, but there's a lot of older people in their 80s and 90s that have gone into the world of the internet. I get emails all the time from people in their 80s and 90s. Facebook is booming with them, and it, you know, it's more than just, you know, it's for that group. A lot of times it's their connection to the outside world. It might be kind of a bizarre world at times, but it really provides, like Facebook, they connect with family and friends around the world. I had one old fella, old farmer, back early days of the internet, and he joked about it. He was like 96 at the time. He said it was just another way for him to remind his family, I'm still alive. And, you know, but it really does open to that group that I deal with. The internet really provides an outlet for them.
Absolutely, for them to stay connected to family and friends, as you're saying, for them to watch family members growing up, to participate in the milestones in their family members' lives if they're not able to travel, to be present. As I said, it is a critical need in today's world for people to stay connected and also to participate in society. So in Vermont, particularly since the pandemic, town meetings have been held on Zoom. So if someone is able to have internet connectivity in their home, they can participate in the shaping of their communities by being able to attend town meetings, for instance.
Because, you know, if something good came out of the pandemic, it was, I believe that a lot of us, even technological people, learned that how we can use the technology out of the pandemic era now is, like, for example, my whole life, I've been in business now for 20-something years, and I can work from my motorhome, I can work from my house, or I live between Vermont and Michigan and everywhere in between as I visit my kids. And give me Wi-Fi and I can do my work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is a choice that everybody should have, to be able to have internet or not. I have had some very meaningful conversations with community members, you know, because part of this outreach and part of this whole program is also improving accessibility by working with the internet service providers. So as they are expanding their coverage, really working with them to reach into the more rural areas to give people connectivity. Some community members have said to me, well, I don't particularly want the lines coming down my road. I already have internet, but, you know, speaking about it in terms of it being intrusive or just not sure how it's going to work, so there's a little bit of trepidation. But it's important to recognize that that choice of whether or not you have internet or not, that is what equity is about. So it is important to have the lines extend to the far reaches of the rural corners and the hollows of Vermont, so that everyone has choice about whether or not they have the internet to stay connected.
Yeah, because I think a lot of real estate people would agree with me. For some people, connectivity is one of the questions they're asked, because simply because some people rely on it. It's not just a hobby; it's a business. So fortunately, I don't need a lot of bandwidth myself, but it is kind of nice not to be back in the days of dial-up, where if I was going to send, say, 25 photos to my layout person, that it was going to take all day to send or something. Now it's almost instantaneous.
Yes. So, and having that quick response and having that ability to send things quickly does enable so many people to work at home. Because for many Vermonters, having a stable landline or ability to work through a fiber optic network is preferable than going through a satellite, say, for instance. So that is one of the reasons why this program is so important. Also, it enables people who are rebuilding their lives or who want to take their life in a different direction, let's say, to be able to connect for job interviews, to be able to even search for a job, to be able to notify EMT if there's an emergency. There are just so many reasons why being able to stay connected to the internet is critical for today's world.
Well, and so many, every once in a while, there'll be a business, and they'll contact us at www whatever, and they don't even have a phone. They sometimes don't list the phone number because they assume everybody has the internet. And to me, I would rather operate like, if you call over to the hospital here, or any hospital, that can be just a frustrating thing in its own, because you have to jump through the hoops of the answering machines. Gone are the days. So sometimes it's easier to do things through the internet.
Absolutely. And for so many of families today, people are trying to be in two places at once. They have so much going on with their children or with their extended family, and so having the internet enables them to also do things when they are able to, right? So they can send an email late at night if they need to, and they don't need to be bound necessarily to this timeline, which is something that you're alluding to.
Right. And even in a grander way, connectivity, I think, joins people together, because I have friends in such countries as the Philippines, Oman, and because a lot of times all we do is we think of everything else that isn't us, we get from the media, which personally, from a person who's been in some form of media or another, are failing us miserably. And while if you reach out through the internet, you can find that most people around this globe are more like us than different. And they're not like the media and the politicians, who I believe spend far too much time talking about our divisions and not what unites us. And I had found the internet is great at just connecting people from around the world.
Absolutely, and that's why the event like what's happening this week of Digital Inclusion Week really highlights the importance of that connectivity and being able to to learn, to have access to information about what's happening in the world, what's happening with our families, what's happening with our friends, and how world events impact our lives.
Right.
Particularly in rural areas like Vermont, having access to that connectivity enables people to stay informed and to stay connected.
Right. And the thing is back to the older people, is when you live in rural America, a lot of times, unless you have specific professions, a lot of the young people, such as my kids, they've all moved away. New Mexico, North Carolina, and Michigan. And it gives this old guy, me, and as that old farmer said, just a way to remind them, hey, I'm still here. But no, it really does, because we're a very mobile society, and the more we can remain connected, the better.
Absolutely. We work with so many community partners to get the word out about the Affordable Connectivity Program, both with the other community action agencies, and also, Vermont also has a large aging population, as I'm sure you're aware of.
I think I'm slipping into that age group myself.
You're moving into that box. So one of our community partners, the Council on Aging, we've been able to work with them, and they have a wonderful program called Technology for Today. And I was actually just speaking with a community member yesterday who was able to take advantage of the Vermont Affordable Connectivity Program, and she had some questions about just how things work with her emails, switching over from one email address to another, and was really excited to hear about this program through the Council on Aging. So they are just one of the many resources through our community partners that are able to help people navigate this vast world of connectivity and internet connection.
You need to recruit a bunch of 10-year-olds because you got to admit,
it's innate in them.
Some of those young people, they're just born with it. Like my wife, my late wife, she did informatics for a hospital for many years, and when she began, it was the older generation of doctors and teaching them technology. They might be able to open up a person, put veins back together, but they had no concept of this technology. But by the time she retired, you had these young doctors who'd grown up with technology. Within like 5 minutes, they were teaching her, because that's how the generations have begun. And we can, I tell people, we can complain about technology all we want, and with young people, I do think we have to limit it, but technology is going to be their future.
Absolutely. It's, that's why the equity piece is so important, to give everybody access, because it is true. It almost is innate, in these younger people. My children cannot remember a time when we didn't have cell phones or computers. Of course, 20 years ago they were much bigger. We just had desktops. I think laptops were just coming around. But it is such a critical part of our lives, and many people are equating this program and this push towards digital equity and the expansion of access across the country to, when electricity was brought to the rural areas almost 100 years ago, I believe. Yeah. And so there's, they're equating this push towards digital equity and bridging this digital divide to bringing electricity to the rural areas. It's just a part of our society that everyone has a right to have access to.
Right. One fella who was born and raised here, he's been on my show. He lives in Washington State now, but he's a local boy. When he was in high school, he was poor, didn't think parents could send him to college, but he had this ability to learn the internet, or computers, back when you had mainframes that could do far, far less than a cell phone can do. And fast forward, he goes out on his own, and then he stumbles onto this group of people, like a guy named Bill Gates, and he was and Terry Lucas of Newport is one of the early pioneers of this technology that now connects us to the world. And yeah, he was a homegrown boy.
Sure.
And he is now, while his parents couldn't afford to send him to college, that's not a issue anymore for his kids.
Right. Yes. Well, it's interesting because when you were speaking about this person as a local person, and earlier you mentioned, the farmer, hey, I'm still here. The other incredible thing about internet connectivity is that you tailor it to what the needs of your life are. So, for instance, somebody who is farming, for instance, they can use the internet to, to check how the prices are fluctuating in the market. If they're doing a large crop, they can check the weather.
Absolutely.
They can stay connected, to other farmers in the state, to see what's happening in terms of pests, environmental concerns. So that's just one small example of how the internet impacts people's lives and how they are able to use it to their own benefit, and then also to benefit greater society because of the information and the knowledge that they're gaining.
Right. Okay, we only have about 5 minutes left. If people want to talk to you or somebody, how do they do that?
Sure. So again, I work for Northeast Kingdom Community Action. So people can reach me at Hartsell, Hartsell, at NEKCA, NEKCAVT.org.
Right.
Or they can also call me. I do have a cell phone that I will answer, and that is, or return your call, and that is 802-323-7006.
Right.
And I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, help people do the application. The online application is a quick application process. If you need to show some sort of documentation, the online application has really been streamlined to tell people exactly what it is that they need to do, so we can upload any sort of documents to the application that are needed, and then we're able to get that code for people to give to their internet service provider to get the $30 off of their bill.
Right. Now, off that though, we were talking about what I thought when internet technology first started coming out. Did you have much more vision than I did about what this would mean?
I guess a little bit, because it was another way that we were able to keep in touch with my parents. So I lived several hours away from my parents. I had young children at the time. My father was an early adopter of computers and just found them so fascinating and exciting. So we were able to email each other. I was able to share photos. This was before I had any access to video calling or anything like that, but we could take pictures and then send them through email to show my parents how the children were growing. So I don't know that I really foresaw where we are today, but I certainly recognized the importance and just what a wonderful thing it was to be able to stay connected in a different kind of way to my family.
A few years ago, one of my favorite shows was, we had Technology of War, but it was communication, how they communicate. We had Lindy Palin. He's now departed us. He was in his 90s, charismatic, handsome bomber pilot during World War II. And then I believe it was Winston Carbonneau, who is now gone, or was it John Wilson? Both of them were Vietnam veterans. I can't remember which one came on that show. And from Vietnam era to Dana LaPlante, who was a veteran of the recent wars, and they all talked about the technology difference, like Lindy would go sometimes weeks without getting a letter, and then it wasn't much better during Vietnam, but then Dana flick open his phone, and you could be on the other side of the world, and you could be checking in what's going on home. So I've even had bits of the evolving technology on here.
Absolutely, yes, and that ability for that instantaneous connection, right? And certainly for people to learn about what's going on, in other parts of the circumstances that they're in, for instance. So the last person you mentioned, just understanding what's happening, with other people who are living the same experience as them. Which also brings me to one of the last points, which is also such a critical part of the Affordable Connectivity Program, and that is the education piece and enabling people to be connected so that they are able to take classes online from home. And able to participate in the economy of the state of Vermont also by finding work opportunities through furthering their education.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, any final words?
Well, please reach out to me if you are interested in the Affordable Connectivity Program. Again, my name is Paige Hartsell. I'm with Northeast Kingdom Community Action, and this is just a really critical part of staying connected in today's world, and we are hopeful that we will be able to expand digital equity across the state through this program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.